Emotions can be used easily as currency with men, not dramatic emotions, not the grand declarations or the cinematic breakdowns. No, the real power lies in the small, everyday gestures. A sigh, a raised eyebrow, a moment of silence that lasts just a little too long. These are the tools that shape behavior far more effectively than any argument. Men in particular are remarkably sensitive to these cues. They'll deny it, of course. They'll insist they're logical creatures, immune to emotional manipulation. But watch them for a day, and you'll see how quickly they adjust themselves to avoid even the faintest hint of disapproval. It's almost instinctive. They don't recognize this as influence. They think they're being attentive, loving. They don't see the system of subtle signals. The signals don't need to be consistent. In fact, inconsistency is part of the charm. A little unpredictability keeps a man attentive. If approval were guaranteed, he'd stop trying. But when affection comes in carefully measured doses, warm one moment, cool the next, he becomes endlessly motivated. It's not cruelty, it's strategy. A strategy so deeply woven into daily life that most people don't even realize we're using it. A strategy that keeps men in a constant state of gentle alertness, always checking the emotional weather, always adjusting. And what do they get in return? The illusion of emotional importance. They believe they're the center of someone's world. They mistake scrutiny for attention, and attention for love. It's a clever trick, one that keeps them invested without real control. Emotional influence can be far more powerful than any physical force. They're too busy trying to keep the emotional balance steady. But every now and then, one of them steps back and realizes he's been navigating someone else's emotional map, not his own. It's amazing the way men see their own exhaustion as a kind of moral high ground, not just pride, moral superiority. It's almost theatrical. A man drags himself home, sighs dramatically, rubs his temples, and waits for the applause, and he usually gets it. This is where the system becomes self-reinforcing. The more he suffers, the more he feels justified. It's a loop so tight it barely needs maintenance. He mistakes his own overextension for evidence of his importance, when in reality it's evidence of how thoroughly he's been conditioned. As long as he sees his suffering as noble, he'll never question it. He'll defend it. The system doesn't just control him, it recruits him as an enforcer. He'll even shame other men who don't follow the same script. But when he stops seeing exhaustion as a badge of honor, it looks absurd. Men are taught to feel guilty the moment they stop giving. This is the quiet engine that keeps the whole system running. Without guilt, the sacrifices would stop. The man might actually rest, or question, or, heaven forbid, prioritize himself. But guilt is always there, waiting, not imposed with force, but with tiny, almost invisible cues. A disappointed pause, a comment about how hard things are. Men absorb this so deeply that they start policing themselves. They feel uneasy when they're not working, not providing, not proving their usefulness. They feel as if they're failing at some unwritten moral duty. The system doesn't just rely on pride, it relies on guilt as a self-regulating force. A man who feels guilty for resting is a man who will never stop working. A man who feels guilty for saying no will always say yes. And the brilliance of it? He thinks the guilt is his own idea. He thinks it comes from being responsible, good, honorable. He never sees that it was planted in him long before he ever had a chance to question it. How often he's acted out of obligation rather than desire. The realization is quiet, the awareness that guilt, not love or duty, has been the real leash all along.